Tough talk is necessary, but tougher actions are essential. We have to understand that China is not our friend. They're not our ally. They're not our partner. They're not our competitor. They're our adversary.
That was retired two-star Marine Corps General Arnold Punara with me earlier this morning on the program. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen meeting with Chinese senior officials and American business representatives in Beijing this morning, saying that China should not let misunderstandings or disagreements get in the way of the economic and financial relationship.
The U.S. seeks healthy economic competition with China. But healthy economic competition, where both sides benefit, is only sustainable if that competition is fair. During meetings with my counterparts, I'm communicating the concerns.
Joining me now is Georgia Congressman, member of the House Armed Services, Intelligence, and Agriculture Committees, Austin Scott. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Your reaction to Yellen's visit to Beijing, the messaging that's out there right now, how the administration has been handling its relations, generally speaking, on a foreign policy from a foreign policy standpoint with China.
Well, first of all, the general's absolutely right. I mean, the Chinese, they do not share our interests. They do not share our values. We cannot blame them for being smart. We need to blame ourselves for being naive to what they were doing all of these years, where they're creating a system where we in this country are more dependent on China than we've ever been for everything from our seed supply and chemical supply for our ag inputs to pharmaceutical supplies to now, because of the mandates for battery-operated vehicles, they have control over a large portion of our manufacturing raw materials. And so I think it's unfortunate that Janet Yellen is over there. She's an academic. I think she's naive enough to think that if you continue to feed the alligator, that the alligator won't eat you. But China doesn't share our interests or our values. And I'd much rather have the general that you had on the TV before over there negotiating with them instead of Secretary Yellen.
Two issues here when it comes to President Biden. The first is how emboldened China has become since our botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think our sort of foreign leaders around the world look at our president, see him as weak, and have realized that this is an opportunity to pounce. But others will also argue that he's got a second problem, that part of his foreign policy approach could stem from the fact that he's compromised as a result of Hunter Biden's business dealings overseas.
Yeah, well, I do believe he is compromised. He's also surrounded himself with academics instead of with people who have actually been out there in the real world and accomplished things. I mean, the greatest thing that Trump did, I think, was bring in people that had significant private sector accomplishments into the administration. And that's what helped us gain the momentum that we had with our economy up to and until COVID hit. With regard to you know what's happening with Hunter Biden and President Biden, the thing that we have to do from my standpoint, let Jamie Comer and let Jim Jordan carry out the investigations. I don't have to convince the people that are watching Fox News or your show this morning that there's a problem with the Biden administration, that they're probably compromised. I've got to convince the people that actually voted for Biden that there's a problem with the Biden administration, that they're probably compromised. That means that we have to build the case. We have to set up the dominoes and let the public understand the facts that surround both Hunter and Joe Biden. And so from my standpoint, my ask is of my colleagues in the Republican Party, let's give Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer the time they need to build the case so that people who actually voted for Joe Biden begin to understand just how corrupt this administration is.
Speaking of the people who voted for the president, he's out there again in South Carolina yesterday, and he's hammering home this message. It's actually a deceptive message about the deficit and our economy. Watch this.
I want you to, you're going to hear about the deficit. I cut the deficit $1.7 trillion in 2 years. Nobody's ever done that. Cut the debt 1.7.
He keeps doing this. Back in April, the Washington Post fact checker giving Biden a bottomless Pinocchio rating for that claim, calling it misleading. Congressman, your thoughts about him continuing to hammer home that Bidenomics is working for people when so many people in this country says, economically speaking, we are on the wrong track?
So I can understand how a high school kid could confuse the debt and the deficit. I don't understand how the President of the United States confuses the debt and the deficit. The deficit is the annual amount that we've overspent. where the debt is the total amount of the deficits over the course of time. I don't understand how he, if he's cognitively capable of doing the job, cannot understand that. So remember this: $3 trillion. The Democrats spent $3 trillion without a single Republican vote in the first 24 months, where they had the House, the Senate, and the White House. $3 trillion, over almost 10% of our total national debt, they spent without a single Republican vote. If you look at the economy today, the one thing that's not being reported enough, it's starting to be reported some, is the number of Americans that have had to take hardship withdrawals from their retirement plans simply to make ends meet on a daily basis because of inflation. That's a number, Jackie, that I think we need to be paying much more attention to. I think it tells us where the economy actually is instead of maybe where it feels like it is, because it doesn't feel like Americans are struggling right now. But when you look at, and I'm talking about from the economic numbers, I know what Americans are feeling in their pocketbooks, but if you look at the number of people that are having to make hardship withdrawals from their retirement plans simply to survive today, there's a telling sign there of where this economy is headed.
Yeah.
And to have a president of the United States that's intentionally misleading the general public and continuing to spend, again, $3 trillion without a single Republican vote and sending inflation higher and higher and higher, it's got to concern every American out there.
Every American feels this at the grocery store. Every American feels this when they open up and take a look at their bank statement. Joe, jump in.
Congressman, every presidential election ultimately becomes a referendum on the sitting president and the state of the economy, 2020 being the exception, obviously, because there was a raging pandemic in the country, and that blotted out the sun as far as media coverage and what people were talking about. To that end, and given the numbers that we just shared, if this is a referendum on the economy in 2024, this president is in trouble regardless of who the GOP nominee is.
I think that's absolutely right. And, I listen to people say, oh, well, can't win if he's the nominee. I don't believe that. I mean, I believe that if you look at the Electoral College, I mean, I do think President Trump could win Georgia. I do think he can win Pennsylvania. I do think he can win Arizona. And, to be honest with you, I mean, Biden has done tremendous damage to this country. If you look at where we were and where we were headed up to and until COVID hit, every American that I know was better off, significantly better off than they were before President Trump took office. And now you look at where we are again, and every American is feeling the pain of the increased price of energy, the lack of jobs that actually pay the bills in the country right now. So I think the next election is up for grabs. I'm not convinced that it's set in who the candidates are going to be on either side. And,
you bring up a great
we'll
point.
know when the vote counts.
Congressman, you bring up a great point with respect to jobs, making ends meet. We are seeing evidence that more people are taking on 2 jobs. That's why the labor market is so strong, so that they can meet the demands that they're, the rising cost of living here in the United States is placing on their families. And that'll be something interesting that we'll look at later when we get those jobs numbers for the month of June. We do appreciate your time, Congressman Austin Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.